Chapter 1. The night the typhoon came, everything felt wrong. The wind howled like a wild animal, and the rain poured down in thick sheets. Keiko sat next to her father, Kaito, in their small house. They had seen many storms before, but this one was different. The house shook with every gust of wind, and the roof creaked as if it might fly off.
Papa, do you think we will be okay?
Keiko asked softly, her voice filled with fear. She looked up at her father, hoping for comfort. Kaito held her close.
We've been through storms before, Keiko,
He said, trying to sound calm.
but this one is stronger than any other. We need to be ready just in case.
Kaito stood up quickly.
We can't stay here, Keiko. The wind is too strong. We have to go to the village hall. It's safer there.
Kaito was scared, but trusted her father. They grabbed what little they could, some clothes, a flashlight, and a few cans of food, and left the house. The rain hit their faces like tiny stones, and the wind was so loud it made it hard to hear anything else.
Stay close, Keiko.
Kaito called as they made their way down the street. The path was dark, and the trees bent dangerously in the wind. It was hard to see, but they kept moving, step by step. After what felt like forever, they finally reached the village hall. It was a large building that everyone used when the weather was bad. Many neighbors were already there, all huddled together. Some people were crying, while others tried to comfort them. "We're safe here," said Mrs. Sato, one of their neighbors. She smiled weakly at Keiko and Kaito. "We'll be okay. The storm will pass soon." Kaito nodded, but he could feel the fear inside. He had seen many storms, but this one was different. It felt like it would never end. Chapter 2. The storm passed by morning, but the village was not the same. The ground was covered with fallen trees, and the river had flooded, spilling water into the streets. When Keiko and Kaito stepped outside, the damage was shocking.
Papa, where is our house?
Keiko asked, her voice trembling as she looked around. The streets were filled with broken homes and debris. Kaito looked around too, but he couldn't find their house.
It's gone, Keiko.
He said softly.
Our house is gone. The storm destroyed it.
Kaito tried not to cry in front of his daughter, but it was hard. They had lost so much. They had worked so hard to build their home, and now it was gone. They walked through the village, looking for anyone they knew. They found Mr. Nakamura, an old man who lived alone down the street. His house had fallen in, and he was lying under the roof. He was hurt, but he was still alive.
Mr. Nakamura,
Kaito called, rushing to help him.
are you okay? We will help you.
Mr. Nakamura smiled weakly.
It's too late for me,
He whispered.
but you must help the others. The village needs you.
Keito's heart broke. He and Keiko helped Mr. Nakamura sit up and covered him with a blanket. They prayed for him, but they knew he wouldn't survive.
Why did this happen, Papa?
Kaito asked, looking around at the destruction.
Why are so many people hurt?
Kaito sighed deeply.
I don't know, Keiko, but we have to stay strong. We can't let this storm break us.
Chapter 3. The days after the storm were hard. The villagers worked together to search for survivors and to help each other. They cleared away fallen trees, pulled wreckage from the streets, and looked for anyone who might still be trapped. One of the survivors was Mrs. Sato, a kind woman who always made sure Keiko had snacks to eat when they played together. But when they found her, she was lying in the mud, her clothes torn. She was holding an empty teacup, as if she had been making tea when the storm hit. Kaito and Keiko rushed to her.
Mrs. Soto, are you okay?
Keiko asked, her voice full of worry. Mrs. Sato looked up at them with tired eyes. I'm not okay, but I will be fine, she whispered. The storm took many good people, but you must be strong for them and for yourselves. Kaito nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. He had lost so many friends, so many people he cared about. It was hard to keep going, but he knew Mrs. Sato was right. They couldn't stop now. The villagers continued to search for survivors, but the news was always bad. Every time they found someone, they were either too hurt or already gone.
Papa, I miss them.
Kaito said one evening, her eyes red from crying.
I miss everyone who is gone.
Kaito hugged her tightly.
I know, Keiko. I miss them too. But we must remember them, and we must keep going. They would want us to be strong.
Chapter 4. Days passed, and the villagers started to rebuild. It was slow, hard work, but they had each other, and they kept going. One afternoon, people from neighboring villages arrived to help.
We heard about the storm. We're here to help,
said Hiratoshi, a man from a village nearby.
And don't worry. We're all in this together.
Kaito couldn't believe it. He had lost so much, but now people were coming to help.
Thank you so much,
he said, his voice full of gratitude.
We don't know how we can rebuild without you.
You don't need to thank us,
Hiratoshi said.
We are all family. We will help you.
The neighbors brought food, blankets, and tools. Together, they cleaned the streets, built new homes, and helped the injured. The villagers began to feel a little better. The pain of losing loved ones was still there, but now they had hope. Chapter 5. Weeks passed, and the village slowly started to look like it once did. The houses were rebuilt and the streets were cleaned. But the pain of losing so many people never went away. One evening, Kaito and Keiko walked to the river. They had found some flowers growing near the wreckage, and they wanted to honor the people they had lost.
Papa, do you think they are happy now?
Keiko asked, holding a small bunch of flowers.
Do you think they are at peace?
Kaito looked at the flowers in Keiko's hands, and his heart ached.
I hope so, Keiko. I hope they are at peace. But we must remember them. We must keep them in our hearts.
They placed the flowers in the river, watching them float away. The storm had taken much from them, but it couldn't take their memories. The people they loved would always be with them in their hearts forever.
I will always remember them, Papa.
Keiko whispered.
Always.
Kaito smiled, tears in his eyes.
Me too, Keiko. Me too.
Together they sat by the river, the flowers floating away, remembering those they had lost. And though the pain would never fully go away, they knew that they had each other. And that was enough to keep going. Thank you for listening. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more interesting stories in the future. Listen to stories, improve your English, and nurture a more beautiful soul.